Well, good Friday morning, everyone. Have you enjoyed this week? We're reliving Diane and I's anniversary trip to Texas. And today's show kind of wraps up our time in Corpus Christi before we moved on to one last place. Today, we are showing you the rest of Corpus Christi, including the church that we attended when we were there. And I think it's appropriate because today is Friday, and I love to invite you to church on Sunday. And I hope you'll join us or attend your church. God bless. Have a wonderful weekend walking closely with your Lord. Enjoy the show. I'm going to give you my impressions of the area in just a moment. Let me give you the verse for today. It comes from Philippians chapter 3 at verse 20. But our citizenship is in heaven. I'm going to come back to that in a few minutes so that you can know why I chose that verse. So, but I also want to remind you, this being Friday, that Sunday is coming. And we'd love to see you in person at Saddleback Laguna Woods. And at the time of this filming, that means the Lutheran Church of the Cross at 3 p.m. But watch our newsletters, call the office, whatever. I'm hopeful that by the time we get back, we're meeting in Clubhouse 5. So that's my prayer. And I don't think that's happened yet, but it might have. So be sure and check. Next week, we'll be in another location in Texas. I think I said it last week. I don't mind telling you this time. We're going to be in the greater San Antonio area. So, what have we thought of Padre Island, which is a part of Corpus Christi, Texas? And of course, so much of it is similar to this. And one day I went for a walk in what they call the Tidelands. And the Tidelands are so interesting because, well, as you're seeing, they're very flat. There's not a lot of color, although that's one of the other impressions, that at least in our time here, the sun hardly ever came out. But the tidelands vary depending on how what the tide is at the moment. And as I filmed these, the tide was out but coming in. Had I have filmed like 2 hours later, there would have been much more water around for you to see. But it becomes home and habitat for so many different kinds of animals, birds especially, but lots of other kinds. I found some crabs, I found some other live things, but overall basically just flat, but interesting. Kind of like, in a way, have you ever been to South Carolina and the flatland or the tidelands there? And that's where we had been before, and this was kind of like that, not actually quite as pretty. But not only the tidelands made an impression on us, the windiness, and that really is becoming a battle here in Texas, because a lot of people say, well, they want renewable power and energy. But you know what that means? That means that there would have to be what? Windmills. That's the problem. No one wants the windmills in there. They don't mind if they're in the desert, I suppose. But as far as in their beautiful ocean and waterways, to have these windmills, no one, well, at least they don't want it here. I won't generalize. I'll just say they don't want it here. It's kind of the not in my backyard syndrome. There's a lot of things people are in favor of unless it pertains to being them. And this is one of the cases here. No one wants windmills in their bay or even in their ocean where they can see them. So we'll see who wins on that one. Of course, in Texas, oil and energy is a part of the nature because that's their, a lot of the money and revenue source comes from oil and gas here in Texas. And so that would make them, I think, all the more against those type of things, the windmills. Another one of my impressions, though, is that And this is one I really liked, but the water here is so warm. Now, that means I was able to get in the water, and it's kind of like Hawaii type water temperatures. But since the wind, at least this week, all blew straight into shore, it made it very rough out there. And you've seen that. If you've been watching it all this week, you know how rough it became. And then, just like today, it's cloudy again today. We had one day of sun. And yet, it's not cold. In fact, it's hot. The temperature right now is 80 degrees, and yet no sun out. So that is making an impression upon me. But they have had a rough year here. There's no question about that. If you go back just a few weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, I don't know if I know you saw it in the news, that there was a deep freeze down here, and that for 3 or 4 days, the temperatures were right at 0. And Texas, a lot of Texas was without power because, of course, why? The windmills froze. And I guess evidently 20% or so of their power comes from the windmills. But aside from that, they got through that okay. But what didn't get by is the trees. And so up and down the streets here, you'll see dead trees. They're not used to 0 degrees freezing temperature down here. And so the palm trees, many of them died, and they just have cut them and stacked them by the side of the road. And it's not a pretty sight. It's not a pretty sight. And a lot of people haven't cut theirs down yet, but they're going to have to do so. So it's been a rough year for them here in Corpus Christi, Texas. It was a lot of fun, though, to drive on the beach. And the way that people park their cars literally within feet of where the water comes up to them. And they just put their chairs out in the front, and if their chairs get wet, they don't care. It's hot. I thought that was cool. I like driving on the beach, and I like getting in the water that fast, and everybody got their own spot. But here's what I want to close with. Those were my impressions of it. I don't know if those will be yours based on experiences that you had here. I hope you've had the privilege of being here. I do consider it a privilege. God's creation is just different wherever you go. But I just got to tell you, for me, I'm a Southern California guy. I was born and raised, and Newport was my home, and as you've seen, as you see right now, yeah, there's water here, but it's not pretty like it is where we live. May I give you this assurance? We are not moving to Texas. And it's fun to visit. I appreciated seeing some of the friends that you saw and other friends too, but it's not for us. We love Laguna Woods. We love Orange County. That's where we live, and Lord willing, it's where we're going to die. But no matter what, that's why I chose the verse that I did for today as our verse for the day. Our citizenship is in heaven. Every one of us, you and me, if you are a follower of Jesus, if he is center, if you've asked him into your life and he is center of your life, you're not living in Orange County and you're not living in Corpus Christi. You're living in the New Jerusalem that is in heaven. And Jesus has gone to prepare a place for you, and it's going to outshine anything of whatever your favorite place to live is. So that's where we're going, and I'm excited about it. Our citizenship is in heaven. All right, everyone. Hey, have a great weekend. I hope you get the chance to worship the Lord with us, and we'll see you again next week. God bless. Bye.
Come to the Father through Jesus the Son.